Hey y'all, hey, we are back for another review of Sisters. We're on season 7, episode 16, entitled Close to You. And so we see Tony, Danny, and his wife or ex-wife haven't really got a real explanation just yet of who she is to him. Either way, she is back from Germany. She tells him that she has a new duty station assignment, and she was granted some leave time to spend some time with her kids until her orders come in. A bunch of military mumbo jumbo, but either way, she is reassigned from Germany. She's now within the States, and she wants to spend some time with her kids before she has to check in at her new location. Simple as that. Tony introduces the two women, and Danny is like, okay, yeah, nice to meet you, but you said you were his wife, and he says ex-wife. Who's really who? And then they get into their pre-existing relationship, and we don't get an answer. Like I said, he is excited because she announced that she's now a major, which is high ranking, in military position, and that her dad would be so proud of her. So we're to presume that her dad is deceased, no longer with us, and they're just very happy and very friendly and very familiar, and it's strange to Danny. Either way, Danny compliments her on how well behaved the kids are, which is just a obligatory compliment because we know that those kids are not very well behaved in what we've seen thus far. And so Miss Major is not excited that Danny has met the kids already, but Tony is very interested in explaining, like, hey, had a late meeting. Mom couldn't keep him. I couldn't keep him. She had to meet him. She had to keep him for a second, but everything's good. And it seems like she's a lot less than an ex-wife, but I guess we'll get to it. All right, moving right along. We see Andy. She's showing up at the hotel to meet with Agent Wyatt, and he's acting real suspicious and kind of pulls her into the room very hastily, like, hey, hurry up and get in here, close the door. And then he tells her, listen, with the ongoing investigation against Gary, we have to ensure that the key witness is kept safe. And so, I had to be very stealthy with this thing. And, all this time we thought Andy was going to be the star witness against Gary, but it turns out that it is Miss Penelope. She comes out of the shadows and looking way less docile than I remember her being, but also a lot less pregnant than we recall her being. And so we're all surprised that she's not missing and that Gary has not unalived her. Okay. And then Penelope tells Andy that Gary, in fact, did do something to her. He caused her to lose her child after she confronted him about Kimberly, which is like his high school sweetheart that ended up missing or whatever. He got angry and he pushed her, and something happened with the baby, and she was bleeding uncontrollably. She was bleeding a lot, and he had no interest in helping her. And then he told her, she was begging for help, and he told her, hey, go back there in the bathroom, whatever, and get some towels to clean this up. And that's how she was able to escape. So they need her to stay alive, and they need her to stay hidden until this case is over so she could testify against him. Penelope knows that we need to see this through so we can get some justice for myself, for my child, for Kimberly. We need to do this. And so, Andy, I need you to be quiet. And she's not really sure that she can keep the secret from Jordan, because Jordan is falling apart, not knowing where his sister is or what is going on. And she's like, listen, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for him, but we know that this is something that we have to do. So I need you to hold my brother down in the meantime. And again, it's going to be very difficult for Andy to do so. Andy's like, well, can you call him? Like, send him a message, like anything to let him know, like, hey, any signs of life. And unfortunately, we can't do that at this time. And Andy's telling her, like, girl, he's not going to give up. He's going to hire a private investigator, all this stuff. And, with the FBI, we're just going to assume that they're going to run interference and that, it's not going to work out for Jordan until all of this is over. So, yeah, so Miss Penelope is not dead. She is in hiding so we can get this case over with. And so, congrats, I'm glad she's not. Nothing's actually wrong with her. Oh, I mean, proverbially. Of course, she's dealing with having lost her baby and all that stuff, but it's glad to see that she's not dead. All right. Okay. Zach runs into Aaron at the gym, and Zach takes it upon himself to offer to squash the beef that they have going on, that they need to be cool, for the sake of the kids. And of course, Aaron agrees because he's like, listen, that's all I wanted, like, from the beginning. That's literally all I wanted. And so finally, these two can kind of get along, and they kind of have some little lighthearted banter. And so maybe that beef is squashed. Hopefully. We'll see. Okay. Pam, Maurice, and Sabrina are at the baby shower planning party, whatever. And of course, they're shading Sabrina the whole time on her matronly ideas for the baby shower. And, you know, Pam is a whole lot and Maurice is a whole lot. Like, they are a whole lot of personality in one room. And so Pam asks Maurice, like, you know, I like you. Do you want to be a brand ambassador for Rags to Riches, which is her hairline? And I was sitting here looking at their interaction, and I was like, listen, this is the messiest link up that we never thought we needed, but it'll be interesting to see where it goes, because they a lot alike, and they gonna bump heads. It's not gonna work out as smoothly as I would like, but we'll deal with it when we get to it. Either way, Maurice tells Sabrina that, hey, there's no room for two messy queens within the friend girl group, and I don't even really like her after she leaves. And, you know, like I said, you know, it's not going to work out very well with two of these drama-filled, messy, bone-carrying people, but we'll see how it works out. Either way, Sabrina tells Maurice that she's mad that none of the other friend girls showed up from the sister circle, and she has half a mind to tell them off. Like, I don't know if, like she says later on in the episode, like the hormones from the injections has her feelings, but she doesn't like that nobody showed up for the planning party, which I'm not sure why you'd be why you would be upset that any of the sister circle girls didn't show up, because Karen asked you and Pam to plan, so you and Pam showed up, and so you don't even really need the girls, but here we are. Karen didn't ask them to plan that. She asked you two to plan. So, don't know what that's about, but I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. All right. Karen asked Pam about her date with Trey, and as if she's thoroughly interested in it. And Pam says, hey, it went off well. And then she tells her, like, you know, I got real drunk and, you know, things got a little bit out of control, but, you know, still good for the most part. And then Trey shows up at that exact moment, and it turns out they talked about business, you know, got a little bit tipsy. They had a good time. And he showed up with a sample from his barber, which is something he uses now. And the idea sparked him, like, hey, my barber gives out samples, and that kind of draws people in to come back to purchase, you know, full-scale products. And it might be a good idea for Rags to Riches. So, you know, here's an idea. You can have the idea to use. And Pam was like, you know, you thought about that for little old me? I appreciate that. He's like, you know, yeah, of course, girl. Like, no sweat, no problem at all. And so, you know, it seems as if the two have kicked it off, and you know, if this thing snowballs into something more personal, more long-lasting, I'm sure that Karen's going to have an attitude. She's going to find everything wrong with Trey, why he's not so good for Pam, because she didn't think Pam could pull somebody like Trey, which is giving even keel. Like, she's an entrepreneur, she's a receptionist, he is a handyman, delivery driver. It's given, he ain't Bill Gates, so I don't know why he would be so far outside of her scope, for other than the fact that, he was attracted to me and I'm just this wonderful person, and Pam's a little ghetto, for lack of a better term, and so of course he can't like me and you. But I don't know, girl, it's given he like Pam, and you need to, you know, resign yourself to the fact that they might be kicking it. So we'll see what happens. All right, so Fatima and Hayden are at the office, and she's and he's bragging and saying that he's going to have Miss Marie eating out of the palm of his hands by the time this whole case is over. You know, he's going to do anything he can. And then she walks up on him and confronts him about it. And, you know, he's like trying to play it off or whatever. And then she's confronting him and Andy about the arbitration that happened today. Because they, just like they had a surprise to throw in, so did her husband, soon to be ex-husband. It appears like, I don't know if we're going to presume it to be false, because that's what she's saying. Some of her ex-employees showed up as a surprise witness to claim that she was hostile and dangerous and throwing all this fine china at them when she wasn't getting her way. And unfortunately, that's not outside of the scope of what I think Miss Marie is willing to do. But she portrays that she's just way too high class to be doing any of that. So whatever. She also tried to Hayden is like, you know, had Andy had her legal assistant doing what they're supposed to do, she should have known that was going to come up, blah, 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 like trying to drag Fatima as well as Andy. And so Miss Maria's like, y'all better get it together. Like, we almost done. This should have been done today. And now we got to combat this new information, this new allegations that's coming on. So y'all need to pull it together, because you're about to get fired. I'm tired of talking to you. Okay. Rich shows up for a little afternoon delight. with Sabrina, and you know, mid foreplay or whatever, he finds a baby shoe, and this is from the baby shower plan, and I guess it kind of spooks him. And then he asks her like, hey, have you stopped taking your birth control? And she reminds him like, listen, whether, I don't think she gave him a solid answer, I could be wrong, let me know in the comments. Either way, she reminds him like, listen, whether I did or didn't, it does not matter. I am not interested in trapping you. Whatever I need to get done to bring forth a child, I'm going to do it, and I don't need you to make that dream happen for me. We've already established that, and I'm preparing myself to do this without you. We just kicking it. What we got going on is separate from what I'm doing as far as my child rearing journey is concerned, and so you could just settle down. As a matter of fact, you can settle down, you can get out. And so she dismisses him, and now he has to go, and you know, he's trying to smooth it over, but this ain't, it ain't gonna work. It's not gonna work. He's too worried, he's too afraid, even though he let on that he was not, you know, early on. Maybe, you know, the more you think about it, your mind can change, and that's fine. Let's just cut our losses and let's just move on. Let Sabrina go on this journey by herself, peacefully and quietly, and we can all be happy. Because if you're gonna be jumping and afraid and think she's trying to set you up around every corner, it's gonna annoy me, and it's not going to fare well for you. Okay. Maurice gets home, and Grayson has helped himself into the apartment. He has not only reorganized his closet because it was in disarray, he baked his oxtails. And the oxtails is what sent Maurice over the edge, because you don't bake no damn oxtails. You smother them. You slow cook them. You know, you do all the Caribbean, or, you know, in my experience, I'm not saying who owes the patent on oxtails. I'm just giving you my experience. Either way, the Caribbean folk, the black folk, they don't bake their oxtails. So I don't know why you even in here ruining my fine dining experience with this expensive cut of meat. But that's what sent Maurice over the edge, and it further triggers him and tells Maurice like, hey, it's coming off. Well, no, then Maurice is letting him know like his concerns about him showing up and doing all these things, and Grayson tells him like, listen, you coming off as a little bit ungrateful. And he's like, you know, no, that's not where I'm at, but I need a little bit more space. It's giving, I need a little bit more space, and you know, of course, it's triggered by whatever's happened between him and Q. And so Grayson feels offended, and he storms out. Whatever. All right. Hayden shows up to Miss Marie's hotel. He shows up to her hotel room. He claims that he's there to apologize and kiss up to her and beg her forgiveness for the indiscretions that they had earlier on in the evening. And then she decides to get a little flirty, and she's like, well, how you gonna make up for it? And I was like, oh, girl, cover my eyes, because you doing a lot. Anyway, she gets flirty and asks him like, hey, what are you willing to do, in my Rihanna voice. And then he loosens that gown, honey. He loosens that moo-moo real quick. And we could just presume what happens from there. And so now we got Hayden and Miss Tamara, you know, creeping out the back door, and that's going to be interesting to see how all of that comes to a head. All right. Maurice goes to the bar to complain about Grayson, and his homeboy that was there was just kind of listening to him, and then he says, hey, the last dude that helped himself into my apartment helped himself to all of my things, like stole all of my stuff. It's triggering for him, and he has not kind of worked through that yet. Of course, his friend tells him, like, listen, while I understand what you're saying, it also appears as if Grayson is paying for someone else's mistakes, which, you know, of course, that someone else is going to be Q. He agrees, and he knows that Q has kind of messed up his psyche, messed up his head a little bit. And his friend tells him, like, hey, you need to process everything that has happened to yourself, and, you know, and I agree. You know, I don't think a full-on relationship with as much commitment that Grayson is looking for may not be what you need currently, especially when you're still easily triggered by a lot of that stuff that just recently, this is recent, that all of this stuff has happened to you and that you've gone through. So maybe a little break just to get your mind right, get some counseling, you know, get yourself back centered is what you're going to need. Just for right now. I ain't saying it's forever, just for a little time. All right. Danny and Tony come back from their date because his wife, Miss Major, forgot her name, so she's going to just be Miss Major at this point. She kept the kids, and she's staying at his mama house while she's there. And then he tells Danny, like, hey, and Danny's worried, like, she at your mama house, like, you don't see she's trying to get back in good with she's trying to be back in his family, like, what's going on? And he tells her, like, listen, it didn't work out, but we promised to be friends for the sake of the kids, famous last words. And Danny thinks that she's acting like somebody that's trying to get back in the family, like I said. And Tony thinks that she was just being a little jealous, and it's very cute that you being jealous. And Danny's like, no, like you dismiss me right now. What I'm saying is I have a legitimate concern. I'm not gonna walk in my eyes blind, even though you may be blind to what the potential issues are. So I'm just gonna, keep my little distance and keep my good eye on Miss Major. And so we'll see how that develops. Again, we're almost at the end of the episode, and we have no confirmation as to whether she's I guess he said, hey, it didn't work out, but we promised to remain friends. So she is his ex-wife. But again, she introduced herself as his wife, which, are you being messy, Miss Major? Or, like, what's going on? Maybe did you have a slip of the tongue? What's going on? Why are you introducing yourself as his wife? And why are you still over there at his mama house kicking it like your homegirls? I don't know. Okay. Jordan and Ethan are small talking about the campaign or whatever, and then Andy calls and that distracts Jordan, and what that does is give Ethan an opportunity to put something in his drink and drug him. And so once he gets off the phone, he goes back to his drink, and Ethan is like, hey, here's a toast to all the success that's coming, or whatever, hands him the glass, and he immediately starts to feel weird, and he's like, Ethan, can you grab me some water? And Ethan is just kind of sitting there like, no action. He's just kind of waiting for the drugs to take effect, and Jordan passes out. Yeah, so that is where we at. Ethan is up in this thing, taking it to the next level of what he needs to do for Gary. And we see that in the next episode, Jordan's going to wake up and he just chalks up the incident to having drank too much. Unfortunately, I'm sure that Ethan has done some sort of damage. I don't know what he has done, whether he's planted some evidence, whether he's gone through your stuff. Like, I don't know what he has done, but of course he's done something while you were out. Either way, that is it for the end of the episode. Again, that's season 7, episode 16. Let me know what you think about the episode. Let's talk about it in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or whatever it is that you feel like doing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.